year 5, new boss, new AD, contract extension. Just what feels different, if anything, and how are you? I know you talked about expectations yesterday. I guess just more specific to you and kind of your role and everything that this year's bringing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel a lot different. I think it's just maybe just the newness of having a new boss and not talking to Coach Tanner regularly like I used to, and talking to Jeremiah more, and even Jeff Crane. Jeff wasn't here last year at this time. He didn't come until the summertime. So you talk about my 2 immediate bosses are brand new, so that feels different, but it's certainly a good thing as well. But I think every year you never feel like you're settled or I got this under control, because every year is just so new, roster and personnel and whatnot, and every year is truly starting over. So I've got more of more information to look back on, if you will, that okay, we did this year 3, it's good, we did this year 4 differently, it was better, let's definitely do this year 5. I think there's more experiences, so when you go through those experiences, that helps you have a little bit better handle on things, but it's still a ton of unexpected. But to answer your question, I think just the new, and then there's expectations, but I mean there were expectations in 23 coming off the season we had in 22. Now it's a little bit different. You're hearing all these draft projections for next year and playoff projections and all that. That's a little bit different, but we've got to certainly handle that better than we did a couple years ago, for sure.
Shane, I know that Lenoris is probably having his workouts with his receivers, and you guys can't watch that, right? But at the same, do you hear things? You get reports about how those things are going?
Yeah, it's still kind of early stages right now, because this is a period where they're really off. They're finishing up exams right now. I guess graduation's this weekend, I think. So we give them a little bit of a break first part of May. So Lenoris is still around, the players are still around, but I want them to be able to get away from it for a little bit. And then I think a lot of our guys, they don't have to, but they stay up in the month of May anyway. The offensive line did it last year. I think most of the defensive linemen are doing it this year. Guys will all be back here in about a week or so, and that's when it'll really pick up. A lot of those guys are going different places over the month of May and kind of working out and training on their own. I know there's some guys that are going down to Florida for some time together and all that. So you hear reports of that, but as far as right now, it's not much, because I want them to be able to get a little bit of a break from football. But then once they come back, we're able to, jump right in and do some football stuff with them on a limited basis. We can't basically practice, but we can really work with them individually, and we're going to jump right into that this year. They come back Memorial Day, and we have a team meeting Memorial Day night. We've always, the very next morning, started with weight room workouts, but this year we're just going to, we don't have time to waste. We're going to jump right into, the offensive coaches being able to work with the offensive players on the field the first morning, and defense and special teams and vice versa. But everything has been, Lenoris has been good. Lenoris has done a great job of, leading, and that's one thing we've talked to him about, is really taking everything by the reins this summer, and you guys have been doing it long enough. Teams, the steps they can take in the summertime are key, just because they're together.
And you mentioned some of the hype. Heisman, number 1 draft pick. You've been around him a while now. Do you think any of that will ever turn his head?
No, I think he's some guys I would worry about. He's as level-headed and grounded. I mean, it's funny. I was telling somebody the other day, it's college athletics. 2025, he went with me to Florence for the Gamecock Club event, and he obviously, he's at the Gamecock Club event. He's in Florence, it's his hometown. Part of revenue sharing and the money they're able to get from NIL is being able to do events like he did in Florence. So he's over there in Florence for that. But then the very next day, he's texting me, can I reach out to the academic people, because he missed a class that the professor didn't excuse him to be at the event in Florence. And I'm like, this ain't college football 2025. I got the player signing autographs at an event for NIL, but he's also got a professor that he missed a class. And then, he's such a great young man. Even yesterday, he's doing an internship this summer, and he texted me yesterday, hey, can you can you send me basically the schedule for the summer? Because the place that I'm doing the internship for, they need like the dates and the times, and I'm going to be available and things like that as well. So no, he's as grounded as can be, and it's cool to see. But I've talked to him, or not necessarily specifically to him, but some of the other guys, that all that stuff's great, but the best thing you can do is go play good football this upcoming fall, no matter who it is. And we'll have those conversations even more so as we get closer to the season.
O-line question. So, and I know you can't talk about him, but I don't think you can talk about him yet, but you had an O-lineman commitment recently from the portal who also had to wait because he was taking an exam, going back to academics to commit. So, I know earlier in the year you said that, it's time for the O-line to take a step forward, right? So you've been through spring now, getting into summer. Like, how do you feel overall about that room, the depth, the talent?
Yeah, I like it. I think I can talk about him. He signed Nolan. So he adds depth to that room, and that's what we've done. But I like the group. You talk about the returning starters that we have in Kason Henry and Josiah. They both had good springs. Kason was banged up a little bit, but they're in competition, and they know that with Tree and Tavy Shivers. So the four of those guys are really competing for the 2 tackle spots. So there's great competition at tackle. And then at the guard position, obviously we lost 3 guard and center between Rashawn, Kamar-Bell, and Torricelli. That's 3 starters that have walked out of there. And when I said that, I meant, we've recruited some pretty good guards. I see Tro's here tonight, Tro and Marquis and those guys. Those guys are good players, and it's time for them to really, take the next step. Shed Surratt, who we brought in. So there's competition at the guard position, and then we brought in some guys from the transfer portal, and Boaz and Nick Sharp and Rodney Newsome and now Nolan, to increase the competition. So to answer your question, I feel good about it. I wish we had a little bit more numbers from a depth standpoint. Most college teams, I think, would say they'd love to have somewhere between like 16 and 18 offensive linemen on scholarship at all times. I think we're at 13 right now, I think. Maybe 14. But that's including Ryan Brubaker, who is out right now. So we're down numbers-wise, and that's concerning. But, that's why Ja'Kai Moore and Cam Pringle leaving, those are tough, because I get why they left, but it hurts. It affects your depth a little bit. But overall, I think they're athletic. They had really good springs. There's good competition going on everywhere, and pleased with where we are. We got to continue to take steps. The summer will be big for them, and we got to stay healthy.
Shane, you mentioned the Faison situation yesterday. Everything's still staying with that?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything today. I had a text from somebody back in Columbia that said, hey, give me a call when you can so I can talk about a couple things that may help with the Faison situation, but we haven't talked yet.
And I don't know if you can answer this, but is legal a legal situation? Maybe could you
we're waiting to see what the NCAA says, but certainly we want to be able to do, everything in our power that Sewell's comfortable doing. We certainly want to exhaust all options if it gets to that point, but hopefully we get good news from the NCAA and we don't have to go to Plan B.
Sure.
No, go ahead.
Clayton was talking about basically how he didn't really know last year kind of what Demetrius and Kyle Kennard would bring to the program. I know that kind of goes the same for a lot of the transfers you brought in. Speaking of the newness and kind of your response to my question, does that kind of adjust how you look at the transfer portal in general and maybe kind of ease some of the worries about the unknowns, kind of knowing that, hey, this person might have been a 2-3 star, portal recruit, but in 1 year they can make a lot happen? Yeah,
absolutely. I think, there's some people that we brought in that, Rocket Sanders, when he came in, was 240 plus pounds and wasn't, in a lot of people's minds outside our program, wasn't trending upwards, if that makes sense. D. Knight had been at 2 schools, like you're saying. Kyle Kennard, coming from Georgia Tech, had a solid season, but they all excelled in their year at South Carolina. So we have great confidence in our development and how we're able to pour into guys when they get to our place. And we say to ourselves, you know what? He's maybe the program that he's been at they haven't been able to do for him what we can do for him with the people in our building, the culture, whatever you want to call it. And that's certainly something that we have a lot of confidence in. And you look at guys, there's guys at the linebacker position. Sean Murphy comes to mind. I mean, Sean's a guy that was a highly touted guy coming out of high school he is extremely talented. For whatever reason, it just hasn't happened the way he wanted it to at Alabama and Florida State. And we tell those portal guys there's a track record of success at our place where guys have come in, whether it be for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and they've played their best football their last season. So we have a lot of confidence in that. We're willing, I don't want to say take a chance on a guy, but Clowney, who we brought in, or George Wilson, the defensive end that we brought in from the portal, those are guys that they've had a different journey to get to where they are right now, but we have a lot of confidence that in their time with us that they're going to play their best football. And it's not just the coaching, it's the weight room, it's the training room, it's the nutrition, it's Derek Moore and character development. It's just the culture we have in place and the foundation that we have will help all those guys be their very best. That's the plan, and it allows us to we don't look at a guy and say, he's been at 2 schools and all that and shy away. We feel good about everybody. Good?